Good morning, everyone. This is Catherine Clement in Boulder, Colorado, and I'm here this morning to host the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Samantha's traveling, and actually quite a few of our members are traveling, and so it just looks like it's going to, well, Donna said she'd try to make it, but it may just be the three of us here. So glad you could make it, and I did put the mobile link on the event page, so you can you probably already have it if you're watching us, but if you need to switch to mobile, then that's where that is. So I just want everyone to introduce themselves to start with.
Hey everybody, this is Jason Roberts, and it is great to be here, and I commend everyone for coming out and showing up today. This is fantastic, and it's a really good chapter. I think we're going to review a little bit and also delve into it a little bit deeper, and I'm really happy to be here. So let's do it.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Smith. I live in Boise, Idaho, and I was just telling Catherine before the call started that we got fires all around us. There's smoke in the air. It's kind of hard to breathe outside. But anyway, you know, outside of that, it's going to be a great day. So excited that you're here, and thanks for coming.
Wonderful. So just if you haven't been here before, we've been doing this, I don't know, a couple of years now, and we cover different books. The panel here, we're friends, of course, but we're all in different businesses. Some of us are in the same business, so this isn't about pitching our business. This is just a mastermind where we go over books, you know, sort of motivational books, self-help books, things that help us with our business, but mostly with our mindset. And right now we're studying what to say when you talk to yourself. I don't have the physical book. Mine's on Kindle. So maybe if one of you guys, there you go, what to say when you talk to yourself. And it's a great book. We've had some lively conversation around it, and this chapter may give us even livelier when we actually discussed whether we would skip over this chapter and decided not to. Because I think it's great to discuss, let everyone voice their opinion on some of these things and their experiences about how they've helped them. So we're on chapter, let me see here. Excuse me. We're on chapter 12, and what he's discussing here is the difference between self-talk and hypnosis and subliminal conditioning. So, guys, what did you take out of this chapter, and what are your thoughts and experiences on this subject?
I guess that, you know, one of the biggest things that I take out of this chapter is just responsibility, being responsible for your own thinking and your own actions, you know, and some of the things that I put into the pre-mastermind. Back in the mid-'70s, there was a nightclub act that I went to a couple times. It was a guy named Volante, and I don't remember if that was his first name or his last name, or it might have been a total stage name and might not have even been real. I have no idea, but it was a nightclub act, okay? And so he brought people up on stage. I can't remember. It was a lot of people, like 20 people or something like that, and he had people believing they were chickens and cats and dogs and doing some pretty bizarre things, you know, and it's really incredible. I don't know if any of y'all have ever, you know, gone and seen a nightclub actor. That you can go onto YouTube and just look for keywords like hypnosis and that sort of thing, you know. But you know, it's really incredible, you know, and some different things that I can't say that I've learned, but in the process of learning over the years, you know, just how powerful that the human mind is, and that you know, psycho-cybernetics talks a lot about that how hypnotized that we are just as we go through life, and you know, that, I mean, just the amount of advertising messages that you see on a daily basis on any given day of the week there are thousands of advertising messages that you see, and you have a tendency to consciously block them out, but subliminally they're still there, you know. So just different things, and they can be so subtle the way that they program our thinking and the way that they channel us through different funnels in life. So, anyways, just taking responsibility for the things that you think and the actions that you take. That's one of the biggest takeaways, from this. And Jason, I'll let you take over.
Okay, all right. Is it my turn? All right. One of the, basically, kind of the same thing there with responsibility. That's huge. They talk about, talks about how responsibility, when we were growing up, wasn't perceived as a fun thing. It was received as maybe, a bad word because, we're being told to be more responsible when we're being bad. Or when we're doing something incorrect as a child. And he talks about how it's not used in a good context enough. And so, yeah, definitely responsibility is huge, and that's a big part of this this whole self-talk thing. And I think and when I was reading the chapter, he makes a good distinction about how when you're utilizing hypnosis in kind of the traditional sense, where someone else is hypnotizing you and then giving you suggestions that you then follow, that is it's an external force or an external conversation, and so it's not really you taking responsibility for the changes that you want to make in your life. And so I think that's one of the things he's trying to make a distinction about. And also with subliminal messages, those aren't even perceived. We actually, the way those are meant to be used is kind of in the background, and a lot of times we're not even conscious of them. And so we don't have we're not being responsible in directing our lives there. And this is all about self-direction. We're here on this hangout to better ourselves. We're here on this hangout to learn more about the ways in which we can further our progress. And that is you taking responsibility in your own life. And I think that is really huge, and that's one of the big takeaways I've had. What about you, Catherine?
Absolutely. I think we all had to read this chapter a few times. The first time I read it, I thought he was saying, they don't work, or I don't know what I thought he was saying. But after I read it again, it's not that he's saying they don't work. That they're good techniques, good tools to have in your box. But Donna popped on. Good for you, girl. We're gonna hear what you have to say. Glad you could join us. Yeah. But what he's saying, exactly like you guys said, you still have to take. You could buy 100 hypnosis tapes, and if you don't ever turn them on, they're not going to do you much good. And the subliminal stuff. I read what you said in the pre-mastermind discussion, Dan, and I agree with you. Even if you trust the person that made the recording, there's still just that little bit of what are they really programming me to do, So I don't know. I use a lot of binaural stuff. I don't know if he considers that as part of the subliminal stuff. It sort of is. It's a way of redirecting brain waves with sounds and things. But all of these, the self-talk, the reason that it works so well is because you are, when you do self-talk or you write your stuff down, you're sort of putting a commandment out there into the universe. You're sort of telling the universe, hey, I'm ready for this to happen in my life. And that is so much more powerful than you listening to something or somebody else telling you something. I mean, it completely, you can't even compare those two things in my mind. Donna, I want to hear what you have to say on this. Come on out.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late. Oh wow, I just got in on the end of it. I really didn't hear what you said there. I apologize for that one. I'm just kind of but I did read the chapter. If that's you're talking about experiencing okay. Well, yeah, it's simply I don't have really a whole lot to say about it. Is that I just find it to be such an interesting chapter. I find it to be an interesting book in itself because there's no woe is me here. It's like, okay, I'm glad it's happening to me. I know that's going to sound a little bit strange to some of you, but life is here now. Life is reality for a lot of us. I tell you, if you don't really, it's kind of like 2 years ago. I keep saying this, and I go back to that video right after my mom passed. I was starting to kind of get back into things a little bit, and I'd always say, boy, why am I self-talk? Why am I doing all this self-talking? I think you guys remember all that when I said it on the call. And I actually thought, well, am I going to have to, I'm just going to be, it's time to be real here, okay? This is reality. I said, am I going to have to go put myself somewhere because I just couldn't seem to pull it together? And I began to just say, okay, I had just came out on the stage of making some videos to kind of help myself and help my little side programs I was doing there. And then I made this one video, and I almost deleted that video. I couldn't count on my hands how many times I wanted to delete that video. But at that time, I was reading the book, and I think I mentioned last time I was on here. And by the way, good to be back on here. It's good to see everyone, Dan and Jason, everybody on the panel. It's so good to see you. But I was reading the book, The Beach Money. I don't know if any of you have gotten that book or ever have read that book. And I said, okay, there you go, right there. And now coming up to now 2015, okay, it's all coming together for Donna. I mean, this is reality. There's nothing going to me. I'm, there's okay with the events. There's okay with going down to wherever they hold the events and whatever. All that's well and fine. But I just realized in myself, I can only speak for me, is that when the pressure cooker starts steaming and you're in the kitchen and it starts getting hot for life, you're going to need to have all that within you. That you're going to need that then. That's when you're going to really need all that self-talk because, like the man said, when the motivator's gone, he's left town. Where are you going to be at? Okay, if this is where you are at, I just came in on the tail end of it, but okay, I'm done.
That's great, Donna. We're so happy to have you back with us and have everybody back with us. Everybody's been traveling. It's like we haven't seen each other for a while or something. I don't know. Seems strange. Donna, you are absolutely spot on. This is why we do this every week, and this is why we read these types of books, and we try to program our mindset this way because life is going to happen. And when the stuff hits the fan, as the saying goes, if you don't have a toolbox full of things to use and you don't use them, then you're going to be in a bad place, And it's okay if you get in a bad place. Just remember that you have a toolbox, pull it out, and start doing some of these things. Get your self-talk going. Put yourself in a positive state of mind and put yourself in a higher vibration. I've got these glasses that I put on that have lights and music, and they can kind of shift me sometimes if I'm having a hard time shifting myself. Those things are great. They're called casinas, and if anybody wants to know more about them, just message me and I'll let you know about them. But they're really awesome. I use music a lot. Certain music really elevates me and puts me at a higher vibration. Music is one of the things, unless you just hate music, I would highly recommend that being one of your main things in your toolbox because it can really alter your mood a lot, especially if it's music that has a very particular meaning to you. And, remembering to dream, when we get in those bad spots, one of the best things we can do is, if we've made a mind movie or we've made a dream board or anything like that, go to those things, pull up pictures on the internet of things that you dream about, remind yourself of the possibilities in life, because what happens when you get in those places is things start to narrow down, your vision gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and pretty soon all you're seeing is the problems. And you have to constantly remind yourself to stop looking at the problems, because the more you focus on the problems, the more the problems are going to come. So you have to break that line of thought. You have to get focused on the positive things, and sure enough, keep watching, those things are going to start coming. So I'll step out here. Come on, you guys.
Well, one of the things that I put in the pre-mastermind was that I went to a yard sale down the road last summer, and there was, it was an estate sale type of situation, so there was just a ton of stuff for sale there, and whoever owned that property must have been running kind of the same circles mentally as what a lot of us do here, and there was a whole bunch of programs there, and in fact, this right here is a program that I bought, and it's Subliminal, the Subliminal Winner by Dennis Waitley and a guy named Thomas Budzinski, and there's 6 tapes in there, I believe there is, and I listened to the first tape, and it was Dennis Waitley talking, but I didn't realize what it was when I bought the series, and then I started to listen to the second tape, and all it was music, but there's subliminal messages that are embedded into the music, and I've never listened to the rest of the tapes, and when I was younger, I would have jumped on that in a heartbeat, because I was working so hard at changing myself, changing my mentality, the way that I think, the things that I do. But the older I get, it's just I looked at that, and I've got, I don't know how many Dennis Waitley books that I have, probably at least 3 or 4, and I've got a couple other tape series that he has. The Psychology of Winning, I believe, is one of them, and I seen him in person a couple times back in the mid-'70s, and spent an entire day, at a seminar that he did right here in my hometown, and I trust Dennis Waitley pretty much, okay, and I'm going to put a heavy emphasis on pretty much, and yet at this point in my life, this is my mind, and I'm not real sure that I want him in there tripping around in my mind, okay, and I mean, I enjoy the things that I've read that he, and in a lot of ways I think that he grew up with similar values and ideals that what I have, and yet it's just the thought that I don't want him in my mind, or I don't want him in my brain there, taking a trip and walking around and kicking holes in walls and who knows what, and also we have a there's a business here in town, and it may be in you guys' area as well. It's called Positive Changes, and it's hypnotherapy, where they bring people in, if they're really super obese or whatever, and they go through this hypnotherapy, and they may lose 100+ pounds, and I think that's great, and I, Catherine, I applaud that. It's just, there again, I'm not sure that I want to hand over the keys or the reins to my mind to somebody else, and so when I first discovered this book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, it was over 15 years ago. I mean, I've had this book for a long time, read it several times, and I got to admit that going back through it this time, slowing down and reading, and not only that, but I mean, I've changed over the years, so I've gained way more knowledge in this area than what I had when I first discovered this book, and I mean, if I hadn't, then I would have wasted the last 15 years, right? Donna, the experiences that you're going through, the hard times that you're going through, they're hard, they hurt, you don't want to go through those things, and yet they're necessary for your growth. that pain is necessary to go through. We don't want to go through it, and yet for whatever reason, it's necessary to develop you emotionally and mentally, and all the things that we need to go through. So it's just that the older I get, the more guarded I become of what actually does go into my mind. And I think that comes back to part of that responsibility of taking the responsibility for, I guess, what in just last week there was a huge toxic spill in a river in Colorado, where a huge plume of just toxic water came down a really pristine river that came from an old mine there. And it's if you can look at your mind like that river, and what kind of toxic waste is coming into your mind on a daily basis, just as you walk through life. I mean, you can compare your life that you live to a long walk. Well, what kind of stuff is coming into your mind that's toxic? It's waste. You don't want it there, and it comes from everywhere. So how do I guard my mind against this toxic waste that's coming into my mind? How do I guard my mind and keep it out? And what's already made it into my mind, how do I clean that up? And how do I get it out of there? And that's one of the things I believe that is taught in this book, is that as we go along, as you progress, he's going to begin from here on out, begin telling you how to clean up the mess that's already been made in your mind, and how to change the way that you think. So I'll turn it over to someone else.
Hey, that's great, Dan. I really, I totally concur with that. I'm the same way. Subliminal messages, those are kind of out of our control, and we have to be we do have to be guarded as to what we put in our minds. It's very important. The subliminal messages, again, those are things that, if they're in books or not books, but tapes or movies, those are things that are put in there without our understanding, and we don't know what might be in there, and that kind of, for me, makes a connection to like the trance state of hypnosis as well. There we go. I had to light box myself there. Yeah, so like the trance state of hypnosis, or even being not so guarded as to not want to use subliminal messages. That's kind of like us, allowing ourselves to be influenced. Okay, and so like if you're being hypnotized, you have to allow for that to happen, and it's not like you lose consciousness. You just decide that, okay, whatever this person's going to tell me, I'm going to act on it, or I'll go with it, and I trust it enough that I'm going to go with it, and that's kind of what the trance state does. And when he talks in the chapter, he talks about lowering your inhibitions, or lowering your guard, so to speak. And that's however, when we do use the self-talk, we already know that what we put down on paper, or what we've talked to in the tape, or what we're telling ourselves at that moment in time is coming from us and coming from a good source. And so we already have that, we're kind of already in that state of mind where we want to be influenced. So I think that is kind of, might help in the understanding. And one thing I wanted to do real quick is just kind of jump back and talk about what we're actually talking about here in this book. I thought this was really profound when he started breaking down how the programming and everything affects us. And I had to write it down. I'd like to memorize it, but I don't have it memorized just yet. But we're talking about how your programming creates your beliefs, and then how your beliefs create your attitudes, and that your attitudes, those attitudes create your feelings, and your feelings determine your actions. And then, of course, your actions are what are going to give you the results that you're looking for. And so we can, a lot of this actually happens instantaneously. When our programming, something triggers in our mind and this kind of bounces off our programming, all of a sudden this belief comes up, which affects our attitude and gives us a feeling. And then we act on that feeling by either not doing what we want to do or doing what we want to do, because our feeling is either good or bad. And so I think that is just so huge. And I think if we continue to keep that in mind, we can use these tactics that he's talking about a little bit more efficiently. Okay, so just wanted to bring that up.
Those are great points. And I love the way that you brought that in. That's great information to have, because you need to understand the process, of how you wind up where you're at. And I'd like to jump over and share some of the pre-mastermind discussion. Samantha wasn't able to be with us here today, but she made a great comment over there, and also Julia made a great comment too. So let me jump over here. Julia, I'm going to start with yours. And basically she says, there were many nights where I stood up worrying about my daily responsibilities and life in general, especially when it came to starting a business. So I decided, instead of worrying about this at night, let me listen to a hypnosis track. And she gives a link there, so go to the pre-mastermind discussion, and there's a link for it lower down on the event page. And it's called betterlivingwithhypnosis.net. One of the best products I've purchased. The hypnosis helped me tremendously. I agree with Dr. Helmstetter that we leave our minds open to the whims of others by not taking responsibility for our own thoughts, just as I take responsibility for my own actions. The same rules apply when taking responsibility for my own thoughts. It's amazing how much of family, friends, the outside world, news, reality TV, etc. can influence my thoughts. Choosing what I let into my mind in the past has helped me realize that I'm allowing this. So I took responsibility and changed how I interact, which helped change my thoughts for the better. I am not the same person I was 2 years ago. I actually like who I am. Julia, that's wonderful. That is so powerful, when people understand that they have to take responsibility, because our minds will do horrible things to us, horrible things to us. And typically, it's not the situation that is so devastating. It's our thoughts about the situation. It's where we let our mind go with the fear, and like with me, it's not the pain itself that is, but when I get in really high levels of pain and I start getting anxious about, oh God, how bad is this going to get? Well, how long is this going to last? I have to stop that immediately, because you can just let yourself spiral. It's the same way with business. Just like you said, you spent many nights staying awake, worrying about business. You just have to get out there and do it. And you can make all these plans in the world, and the minute you take your first action step, the plan's going to change. So I'm not saying it's not good to have a plan, but don't spend all your time making the plan and then never get to instigating the plan. Samantha, I gotta scroll way up here. Samantha says, this is a very interesting chapter. Dr. Helmstetter brought up some very valid points about taking 100% responsibility for your own personal development. When I first read through the chapter, I thought to myself, hold on, is he really talking bad about hypnosis and subliminal conditioning? Although I do agree that having complete control over what's being fed to your mind is very, very important, I feel that all of these methods of working on your internal dialogue can be beneficial. In my opinion, it's not so important how you change your thought processes, it's that you recognize the ones holding you back and work on them in every way possible. Obviously, the conscious work you do to change your self-talk is extremely important, but if you can also work on your internal dialogue by using subliminal conditioning while you are doing other actives or hypnosis right before you go to sleep, in my experience, it can multiply your efforts significantly. I am all about testing and trying different techniques to see what works best for you. Dr. Helmstetter suggested that using hypnosis and subliminal conditioning was like letting someone else do our thinking for us. I would agree if you have no idea what is being said in the subliminal messages. In other words, don't just blindly download any random thing off the internet and use it. You never know what people will put on there. But with hypnosis, you can hear everything that's being said and choose whether or not it's right for you. You can also create your own subliminal messages or hypnosis recordings so that you have complete control over exactly what you're putting into your own brain. If you want to use pre-recorded hypnosis sessions, make sure to get them from a reputable source. Here's one that I have used and I highly recommend: betterlivingwithhypnosis.net. So that's come up a couple of times. Samantha, spot on. You know, I think the key to this is the word self. Self-talk, self-hypnosis, self-subliminal messages. You know, you can make your own of all of these products, and that way you know exactly what you're getting and what you're hearing, especially if you're listening to these things overnight, because that's really getting in there deep. So you want to make sure you know what's getting in there. And I saw on the event messages, comments, there was a question about My Movies. It is a company. I did purchase a package from them several years ago. And but basically it is a video that they have this really cool software that makes it very easy, but you could do this on your own. I have made some of my own as well, but they make it pretty just drag to and push button, and you can combine video, you know, like images, put images together with your own affirmations, and then you can also put music. I put music behind mine that had a very significant meaning to me. So when I watch this little 3-minute movie, it has all of my dreams with the images, and it has my affirmations and the music, and it just really, and because I made it, I actually made those commandments. I find it to be a very powerful tool. You can Google. I think it's mymovie.com. Okay, I'm hushed now.
Yeah. Okay. Where you going to go out, Dan? Yeah, I like the way Jason broke that down. That's exactly. I didn't get a chance to write in the discussion, but I actually was reading that too this week here at work. And I thought that was interesting how the Dr. Helmstetter here broke that down, because and like I said, it's time for folks to understand they have to be. We've said this in times past on our talks, and this is not, I'm sure, putting us any different than anybody else out here online. But what we're doing right here is absolutely, absolutely, I don't know how many times I can say this, is a good thing, because this is the thing that I've struggled with for the last 2 years. Is I would tell folks, I said, look, I have my own mind. I'm not being stubborn, and this is part of my personality. Give me a chance to think for myself. Because when I wrote down that little thing here just a few weeks back, before all this feel like a whirlwind come into our lives, or that's the way we feel sometimes. We feel like a whirlwind just coming, just turning us around and around. But I said, look, if you don't trust who you are, and here we go back again. Sometimes you got to rewind. You got to go back in order to appreciate and have gratefulness and gratitude of today. And I said, I have my own mind. I can think for my own mind. I've been told, oh, you're stubborn, you don't want to hear. No, it's not that. It's just, BJ said you got to put a security fence around your mind. You got to guard your mind, because you don't want everybody's trash in your mind. But you'll come through there and you'll filter that stuff. And then the thing that I was like, when I say war with, I'm not talking about guns and knives, okay? I'm talking about the war inside of our head. You got that going on all the time, and you say, look, okay, this war is going to quiet down at some point. It's got to calm down at some point. And then you start asking yourself a question. Go inside and say, okay, why is this happening? Ask it to yourself. It's okay to ask it to yourself, because sometimes there's not going to be nobody around to encourage you. And you yourself, if you can't be your own encourager and be real with your own self, then that means something's wrong somewhere. Now that's just being honest, and I've noticed that each time this is not the first things that's come in and shocked my brain or blindsided me, but like you said earlier, Dan and Christine and those out there on the panel, there's a growing process here. It's painful. It hurts. But I had no children, Catherine. But having children, the labor pains, they hurt. But I know what pain feels like without the child. It hurts. But when you push and you push, here comes life. I'm seeing life. I mean, I don't have to go into the detail of everything. What I'm trying, I think you guys understand what I'm saying. Life is being renewed again. I'm not talking about born again, okay? Here comes life again. If I must say, in you, when you're going through anything, you're being rebirthed again into something greater than what you were before. And it's a good thing. It hurts. Yeah, it hurts. But it's a good thing. Okay. Okay.
Trying to think of something intelligent to say, but no, I've kind of gone through some of the same things, Donna, that what you're talking about the last few years, and without getting real scriptural, real biblical, but there's examples in the scriptures about people who were made certain promises, okay, and the promise was put out there, the dream was put out there in front of them, and then all of a sudden their life just fell apart. I mean, literally, the bottom dropped out. And over a process of time and years, some of it as many as 40 plus years, some of it over 400 years, before the promises started coming together, and people whose lives were just devastated, so to speak, running for their lives, fearful for their lives, that they were going to be snuffed out. And yet the promise was thrown out there. The promise was made, and so they went through all this crap. I mean, real hard times, heavy times, but then they shot out at a point in time. They shot out from that, and then they went on and became victorious. They had victory over the struggle. They had victory over the fight, the battle. And Donna, like you said, the battle's in the mind. That is the battlefield. That is the battlefield. But it plays out here in real life. And so it's the setting of goals. It's the striving to reach the goal. It's all of the crap that you got to crawl through, as from the time that you set the goal until you get shot out, that tube or that tunnel on the other side, and actually realize your dream, realize the goal. And the battle is there to strengthen you, but at the time you're going through it, you don't want to go through it. It's painful, and yet it's necessary for your growth. And it's like, if you want to have extremely strong arms, then you get weights and you begin pumping iron, and in that process of pumping iron, you're actually tearing your muscles down, tearing them. But when they repair, they come back stronger. And so that's what professional weightlifters do, or weightlifters. They actually trash their muscles in a sense, knowing that when they repair, they're going to be stronger. And so the human spirit, the will to overcome, the drive to achieve, all these different things that drive us as we go through the struggle is there for a purpose, and that struggle is actually to make you stronger. But it sure sucks when you're going through it. It just does. I don't know how else to put it in one word. It sucks. I guess that's two words technically. So, Jason, you're back. It's good to see you back, buddy. Anyway, yeah, we go through the struggles in life, and that's the test. Do you really want this thing that you say that you want? You're going after something. You're going after a goal. You're going after a dream. You're taking command or control over your own mind. Do you really want it? Are you willing to fight? Are you willing to go out there and get in the trenches, get your knees bloodied and your fists bloodied? And are you willing to get kicked down, knocked down? Are you willing to get up one more time and come back and fight again? One more time, get up, come back, fight again, and over and over and over and over again. Keep getting up, keep getting up, keep getting up. Come back fighting, and it's the test. Do you have what it takes to pack the gear? And so, yeah, we got to go through it, and I believe that that's what we're doing. here, when when we're reading a book like this, we're learning how to take control over our own mind, our own thoughts, and you know what what you laid out here, Jason. That he talks about your programming creates your beliefs. Your beliefs create your attitudes. Your attitudes create your feelings or your emotions. Those feelings or emotions determine your actions, and then your actions create your results. But somewhere in that, from point 1 to point 5 of that 5-point process right there, that's where the battle takes place. That's the struggle. That's the struggle. That's the fight. That's where you keep getting up one more time and keep getting up one more time and keep getting up one more time. And if you will get up one more time, then you get knocked down, then you'll win. And that's the battle.
Wow, I just got in on the tail end of that, Dan, but that sounded really powerful. Very powerful. And you're right, I'm back. I'm back stronger than ever. It's funny. My computer just completely went blank and shut down. And I've had that happen to me before. And in the past, it's like this huge feeling of all of a sudden just comes over me like dread and anger and but this time having had done that a few times and then being able to reboot and get back on through trial and error, now this time it wasn't so bad. My thought was, oh, that's not good. but I just let it rest for a few minutes, and I booted it back up in safe mode, and then I restarted it and eventually got back on, but I had a whole better attitude about it because I've gone through the experiences, and I've learned that hey, this can be handled too, and I think that's kind of what we're talking about here as well, is or at least with these the self-talk, is giving yourself another frame of reference, giving yourself another thought pattern to go through, and I like what you're talking about, going through struggles, Dan. That's it's a battle. It can be a battle. But we don't have to really look at it as a big battle. We can, when we're doing this self-talk training, we're going to have thoughts that come up in our mind. Like for me, it was just subtle little thoughts like, oh, it doesn't matter. This doesn't matter, or I don't care. I don't care. And those frustrated me. I'm like, where is this coming from? And for me, what helped is I just dug down a little deeper into that, where it's coming from, and I addressed it. Said, no, this does matter. This really matters to me, and I want to make this change. And I tighten my stomach. Have you ever remember when you were a little kid and you really wanted something so bad, maybe for your birthday or something like that, and you wanted it so bad, and you just, you hopped up and down and stomped, and, you were willing to do anything for it you possibly could, but, we were little kids. We didn't know what to do. But it was just that urge and that feeling of wanting it so badly. Well, allow that to take over with this and allow you to feel that again for these things that you want to better yourself with. And just, pound the table or stomp the ground, scream it to yourself that it does matter, that you will make these changes, and don't let up, because that's what it takes to tell your subconscious mind, or at least for me, that's what it took to cancel out some of those negative thoughts, and to really kind of have my subconscious start to take what I'm doing seriously, So I hope that helps, and that's what Shad Helmstetter has been talking about throughout this book has just had a huge impact on my life. Once I got to chapter 4, I must confess, on the 4th of July, it was like my own Independence Day. I got to chapter 4, and from then on, I just read the book out loud to myself all day long. I got through the whole book, and it was just chapter after chapter after chapter was so helpful. And I really hope everybody buys the book and reads it thoroughly, and digests it, and makes it their own, and uses it their own way, because you know, like Dan said, in the next coming chapters, he's given us the tools. He's giving us the tools to make this work for ourselves, and he's giving us the actual language that we need to speak to ourselves with. So if we do want to make subliminal tapes, or we want to make some hypnotic tapes or whatever, or just have something to run in the background, we can use the correct language for it. So this is not just fluff stuff. This stuff really helps, and I hope it helps you too. I hope it has some value for you.
You guys are just rocking it today, I'm telling you. Powerful stuff. Powerful. I haven't read ahead like you have, but I'm very impressed with the book so far. I know I'm not sure what it says as far as what it tells you to say to yourself, but I do know that when I was working with a group of people and we were all doing self-talk, one of the things that we discovered was that you do need to we've talked about color personalities in the past. It's very helpful if you know your color personality and you make your self-talk accordingly, because some of the things that other people tell you to say as self-talk may not strike that piece of your heart that it really needs to make you really feel it. For instance, if you're I'm a blue personality, so my self-talk would be much different from a yellow's personality, because different things drive us. And if for instance a red personality wrote the self-talk, that would probably feel not good to me at all, because it would be focusing on things that red personalities find that motivate them, which is completely different from me. So that's just a helpful tool, and I did post, there is a color personality chart posted in the Mindset Mastery Collective. I think you're right on key there with being a kid. I think we knew exactly, Jason, we knew exactly what we were doing as kids, because we got everything we wanted, or almost everything we wanted. When we get really serious about that stuff, the universe has to know. And I don't think it's I don't think it's tests or anything per se, but I think if you think about anything like a diamond, a diamond just in the rough you wouldn't even recognize it as a diamond, but then it goes through processes of pressure. It takes pressure and honing, and that's kind of like we're diamonds. We're these amazingly bright beings, and we can accomplish anything. But I think sometimes we have unreasonable expectations of ourselves. Like we look at other people and maybe maybe we look at some leaders in the business we're in and we think, oh gosh, look at them, and and I'm not able to do that, or I can't do that, or we think that that we have to be perfect all the time, like that everything that we have to do has to be perfect all the time. Well, that's not reality. Nobody is perfect all the time, and everybody has ups and downs, and life happens to them, and that's I don't know the exact quote, but I've heard it said that even the best baseball players in the world strike out, I don't know, like 6 times out of every time they swing the bat or something. So don't hold yourself to such a high expectation that you're doing more negative self-talk instead of positive self-talk. Celebrate all the little accomplishments, even if it's the very tiniest of things. Even if you get a Facebook post up, celebrate. I'm telling you, because there are a lot of people that have no idea how to put a Facebook post up. The things that we take for granted and that we don't give ourselves credit for on a daily basis are amazing. If you actually just looked at everything you do on a daily basis and added that up and what you'd have to pay somebody to do that stuff, you'd appreciate yourself a lot more. If Christina was here, she'd be all over that one, I'm telling you.
Well, I think one of the most important things is just the process of learning how to properly word self-talk, because you can if it's not worded properly, you can do more damage than good, because you've got to know what your subconscious mind will actually respond to. And you have a conscious mind that thinks it has the ability to accept or reject ideas from other people, but your subconscious mind doesn't have that ability. You've got a left hemisphere to your brain, a right hemisphere, and you got 4 quadrants to your brain, and we all think differently. We can all look at the same accident and all describe a different accident, and that happens, when people when there's a car crash and you got several different eyewitnesses. Everybody sees that differently because they see it from their perspective based on what portions of their brain and how they actually think. And I was going through a training. I just had it running in the background yesterday when I was doing some other things, but it was a guy who was talking about solo ads and how to do solo ads, and when he first started doing this business a couple of years ago, he was flat broke. I mean, he was broke. He was beyond broke. He would have to paid off, thousands of dollars of debt just to get to be broke. Okay, and I think you can relate to that. So anyway, he wrote down on a gold card that he carried in his pocket, and I wrote down portions of it here. It's not worded exactly, but it says, "I am so happy and grateful for that I am now earning $50,000 a month in passive residual income, and each and every month all my financial needs are met, and I now have total financial freedom. I'm excited about life. I am excited about my business, and I enjoy every moment of my life every day." And like I said, he was broke. He was beyond broke. He was in debt. Okay. And what he's done in the last 2 years is he's actually surpassed that $50,000 a month in residual income, because he kept that gold card with him. He pulled it out of his pocket numerous times a day and read it, and he was predicting his own future. Okay, and so that's nothing that any of us can't do. We all have that same ability, and yeah, Catherine, we can all do that, and it's speaking. It's prophesying to your life what your life is going to do and what you're going to do in that life. And it goes back to what Jason had talked about earlier. If I can find it here, and go back to that once again, because I believe that it's so important. Your programming creates your beliefs. Your programming creates your beliefs. Your beliefs create your attitudes. So what kind of attitude do you have towards life? Those attitudes that you have create feelings, or the emotions that you feel. And the emotions or the feelings will determine the actions that you take. And it's those scary steps. They're frightening because we're going someplace we've never been before. Okay? But if you take those actions and you take a little bit of step, Jason, you have become so powerful. I'm just sitting here watching this, and remembering when you first came on, and I'm just going, whoa, what a man, because you are coming across so powerful now, and you probably don't even realize that you're doing it. Catherine sees it. Donna, I just love you. I love your spirit. I love your spirit, and just going through this process. And it takes time. It's like planting a garden, and it's sowing seeds, and you have to tend those seeds. You got to water them and fertilize them. The sun has to bake them, and you got the cool nights and the hot days. And over time, those seeds will begin to germinate, and they'll begin to grow, and they'll sprout, and they'll grow into a mature plant, and then they bear fruit. And that's what we're doing here. We are implanting ideas and thoughts into our own minds and into our own heart that will grow, and they'll produce fruit. And it's just learning how to tend that field or that produce, how to tend it properly, and how to do the things that it takes in order to bring about the crop that you want, and to eliminate the weeds and the things that you don't want out of your life. So I'm done.
We're coming up towards the top of the hour. So, Donna or Jason, do you have any end points you'd like to make?
No, I'm just great. I appreciate that, Dan, and yes, I seen that. I didn't see Jason when he first come on, but I'll say this in my closing remark is I'm so glad we discussed this chapter, and for folks that know me offline, and I think some of you are beginning to kind of know me online, uh, you know, I put something on my Facebook wall, and I said, I know this is going to probably blow some folks away, but I was literally saying that it's an aspect of what Dan just said there. I was basically trying to illustrate a point here that, but it was a minion that I had died. I just died, rip, I just died. But in reality, in my mind, I was saying to myself, relax, Donna, keep improving and keep pushing. That's what rip to me means outside of, physically, you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to get all, but back again, I'm so thankful, and I'm not, it's doing something, the trials of this life, the experiences, all this, what we go through with, it's a good thing. And I actually, I'm getting more and more thankful and grateful. Is it scary? Yes. The unknown, the unknown is scary because you don't know where it's taking you. But the thing to always ask yourself is, find the truth in this. What is it trying to? What's this lesson for me? There's a lesson here for me. That's the most important thing. Is what is this teaching you? And I appreciate all the comments and everyone. And I'm sorry I was late, but have a great weekend, and hopefully I can be back on next weekend. Thank you for discussing the book today, hosting the call, Catherine. Appreciate it so much. Thank you. Did a great job. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thanks a lot, Catherine, for stepping in and doing the hosting. And I just appreciate everyone so much. I really, I've felt the growth. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate those are kind words. And I appreciate everyone that's been on this panel, and everyone with their comments. Thank you so much. And it really is a process of us self determining what we want, and if we can cut through all of the nonsense, and we can figure out what the message is for us, like Donna is saying, um, well, it's going to help us, and there's no doubt that we can do that. There's no doubt that you can find what's going to work for you, and you just have to continue to put yourself into it. Um, they say even if you're trying to learn something, you have to re-immerse yourself into it continuously in order to actually learn it. You may read something once, but you're not going to pick up everything. You read it twice or three times, and you're still not going to learn everything that was in even a small chapter like this. But if you read through it and you digest it, you write it, you speak it out loud, you internalize it, you realize the purpose, and you realize the power of it, and you say, shoot, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make this work for myself. You can do that, but you have to have that determination. And I think everyone here has that, and just by showing up, just by being on, that's 80% of life is just showing up. And I congratulate you all on showing up, and I'm really happy to be here, and so thankful. I know Danielle has been trying to get on, but she's had some internet issues. And she's wonderful too. Every one of you helped me grow, and in a different area of my life. So thank you so much, and it's really terrific to see everyone. Please, I hope to see everyone again on the next event. We're going to be delving into the tools that Dr. Shad Helmstetter is actually suggesting we use, the language that we should use, And so if you haven't bought the book, go buy the book. The link is on the Saturday Mastermind Collective, so you can buy it through the Mastermind Collective, and then the proceeds will go to help further this book review. So again, thanks. It's been wonderful being on here, and I'll hand it back over to Catherine.
Dan, I have to agree with you. I have just watched Jason. I wanted to say blossom, but I guess that's not a manly word. I need to think of something else. But you've just, yeah. I would love, I don't know if you have, but go back and look at the beginning. And we all have, not just you, honey. We're not trying to put it all on you, but it's just been amazing to watch you grow, and just the camaraderie amongst us, the friendships amongst us, and those in our community. And I want to jump over to the page, and I haven't said any of the comments here, so I want to go over some of the comments. We're going to be a few minutes late, but that's okay. Whatever. Just want to welcome, first of all the people that are with us today, and we've Marcia and Julia and Dan Sissick, we're glad you're back, and Karen and Angie and Heron and Nadia, and I know Tom's listening, and so then we've got some wonderful comments here. Let me pull some of these up. Let me find the ones. All right. Samantha said, that's a good point, because you may not know what the person's intentions are, even if they're saying words that are in line with what you want. They may have underlying counter intentions, and that's when we were talking about the subliminal messaging. You really don't know what the messages are, and you don't know what their intentions were when they put them there. So as beings who create our own reality, we need to be the ones giving the orders here, not other people. She also said, I think much of the time people try hypnosis because they're hoping for a quick fix without any work. But like you said in the pre-discussion, what you focus on will override those tools. Julia said, oh, Julia, you were asking about the Mind movie. I covered that earlier. Yeah, be sure and check that out. They're really great. I love them. I love mine. I only ever made one, but I love that same one. Samantha shared that she's made audios with binaural beats and reading her major definite purpose. That's from the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Be sure to check that out. You want to write out your major definite purpose, or even if you don't do it exactly like he says it, you'll get the gist on how you need to actually put into writing. It's just another way of solidifying with the universe what you're looking for. And then she spoke it with some positive statements on the recording and just looped it over and over, maybe while she slept. So that's a great way to get some of this stuff in there. Dan Sissick says, Julia, yes, there's a company called Mind Movies, exactly. And Dan likes the Mind Movies as well. Both Dans, Dan Smith and Dan Sissick. And Dan Sissick says, I like you, Dan. I won't hand over the keys to my mind to someone else, but I am willing to do it for myself, though. Good for you. Yeah, we have to be protective. And then let's see, scrolling up through some of these things. Marcia says, we have to make our own promises of hope, Dan Smith. Good points. And yeah, the struggles suck, but we got to go through them. All right. Thank you guys so much for all the wonderful comments and for showing up. And thank you to the panelists here for being here, because I would not have been able to do this by myself. So you can always find us at SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. We also have our Google Plus community called Mindset Mastery Collective. And if you want to subscribe to our newsletter, you can go to newsletter.SaturdayMorningMastermind.com, and you can sign up for our newsletter. So get your book and read the chapter, and we'll see you next Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for coming.